Jen Oliver here, your host of the Fitmama podcast. This is the work in to your work.
I have a treat for you today. I brought on the brilliant minds behind the Dirty Laundry podcast, co-host Amanda Silver and my very own baby sister, Alex Howard. They are talking about all things separation and divorce, with a strong belief in ditching the stigma and bringing the information to the masses. They are on a mission to normalize separation and bring some levity to this difficult process. And we did just that today in this episode with lots of laughs, stories, serious talk, and awareness about this often and unnecessarily so shameful topic that is a part of reality for many fit mamas. My sister, Alex Howard, and I are children of divorced parents, and her co-host, Amanda Silver, you are going to love these two. She has gone through a process of divorce that was very difficult, and the two of them have made it their mission to help others and ditch the stigma that is associated with the whole thing. Both women are family mediators who are leading experts in this area and are all about alternative dispute resolution and using the tools of communication, active listening, and probing questions to allow parties to explore their grievances and decide upon an agreement together. Separation can be a most difficult and confusing time for an individual and their families, and these two hope to alleviate some of that stress. There is so much stress associated, and in their roles as family mediators, they want to decrease that stress and make the whole experience as amazing as it can be. So all the amazing links to find them, to connect with them, are in the show notes. So click on there if you want to connect, and by all means, definitely follow the Dirty Laundry podcast. It is so good. You will hear me raving about it. We talk about so much important stuff, and they have many more important topics that are associated with this on their Dirty Laundry podcast. So without another minute to spare, here I bring you Amanda Silver and Alex Howard of the Dirty Laundry podcast. Hey, Fit Mamas, we are back with the beautiful ladies of the Dirty Laundry podcast, divorce mediators, Alex Howard, my beautiful sister, and her partner, Amanda Silver. Welcome.
Thank you. So fun to be here.
Oh, this is such a treat. How do I find you guys today? How's it going?
It's going well.
It's going amazing.
Busy, productive day.
Yeah. Actually, it's been really nice. Amanda's kids are away, so we've just been like, oh, we are working, we are grinding, we're like getting all the to-do lists done. It's good.
A very productive week.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And you two are both divorce mediators. So maybe you can start with telling us a little bit about what that is versus divorce lawyers. And I'm sure there are myriad divorce options that people have to work with when they go through this.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole team that people can work with when you are going through divorce. Depending on where you're from, some people have more lawyer involvement, others not. Up here in Canada, they really encourage couples who are separating to go to a mediator first and get most of the work done with a mediator before involving, a lawyer or intervention.
Yeah, especially ones that are maybe more high conflict and they need a litigator, like someone to really advocate for their interests.
Okay.
Amanda, I mostly see couples that are separating, divorcing, that are more on the amicable side. And just like a divorce lawyer, we can do a full separation agreement. We just aren't lawyers, so we're not giving legal advice.
Okay. And when you say to start with a mediator to go through some things, what are these things? What kind of things?
Yeah, so basically it's all of the decisions that you need to make in order to get to the divorce to the end. Right? So all the parenting decisions, all of the child support, alimony or spousal support, and then dividing all the property. So we walk through our clients through all of those choices, create an agreement, and then they usually bring it to a lawyer to dot the I's, cross the T's, add in the legal jargon, and then off they go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm just going to stop you for 1 second because I have a feeling Amanda's mic isn't working, isn't as
quieter than
She's very quiet. I'm very loud.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I could always hear you. It was just significantly quieter, so I wasn't sure if it was on.
It's probably me. It's not you. It's me.
There
I'm the Hi, I'm the
you
problem.
go. That
Yeah,
sounds
you
like
just talk louder.
You need to talk louder.
You talk
Okay.
louder,
Okay. Yeah, that's good. No, it is actually better. Yeah. Okay. No, that was good. You're better now. I think you've.
Okay.
So we're all good there. Okay, good.
Do you want me
And
to say it again or want
no, I think it was good. Yeah, I think that part was good. So we'll just keep moving forward. Okay, so thank you for that. That's really definitely clear. Now, the one thing that I really wanted to bring up with you too, because first of all, I love your podcast. Dirty Laundry is not only hilarious and cute because I love you too, but it also is so informative and it brings up so many topics that people think about, but they really don't know who to ask. They don't know where to go, and to have this resource where they can just tune in and not have to potentially go and interact with another human, which is nice sometimes when we're in that space of I don't know. I really love that. So one of the things that I've really noticed that you guys do a great job of in your podcast is kind of change that stigma around divorce. So many people think they're bad or it's wrong or this is something that is like the end of the world when they're going through a divorce or when they're contemplating divorce. And you teach us to make it sound even fun, if you let me say that. So how do you do that?
That really was honestly the whole impetus for doing this.
Yeah.
Breaking down that stigma that like when one in two marriages are ending in separation and divorce, it's like, how are we still judging people for this?
Not even marriages, partnerships.
Any kind of relationship at all.
Yeah, they're all, half of them are ending in a separation of sorts.
Now, part of the reason the stat of that sort of 50-50 is holding is that there are less marriages. So fewer people are actually getting legally married, but there still is this stat that holds firm of 1 in 2 marriages is ending in divorce, give or take. And really the whole rationale was, how can we use storytelling and shared experiences as a way to normalize the end of your marriage? And then part and parcel with that was also, how can we educate people, right? It's like you said, you don't know where to go. You don't know who to turn to. Often your divorce is the first time and you're maybe not a family law lawyer. And it's like, where do I even start? So you call a lawyer because that's what we see in films and movies and books and what have you. And so you call a lawyer and you're like, oh, spectacular. There went $10,000 and I still have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm not here to poo-poo on the lawyers. They're so crucial. They play such an imperative role. But really to just have those initial questions answered was the ultimate goal. Tune in. It's totally free. And just listen and realize that A, you're not alone. And B, we've got all kinds of tips and tricks of how to navigate the divorce process.
Yes, that is so true. I love that idea that you're not alone. That's one of the most loneliest experiences, is just feeling like you're alone. And truly, if you even discuss with a few people, you realize everyone is going through similar things. And when you find those people or those communities are actually discussing the things that we're going through, it just allows us to feel like we have someone we can lean on, right? And you two make that so accessible, so well done.
Well,
I just absolutely love what you girls are about and what you're doing. So I just so appreciate that. One of the topics I wanted to bring first, because this is really a huge topic that people talk about in divorce, and you mentioned it with the lawyer costing $1 million or whatever.
Give or take.
Sometimes,
take a few bucks. Financial strain and pressure. And one of the things we know already is that finances are a huge issue among marriages when people are together, let alone could be part of the demise of the marriage. And then it's okay, do we even have the money to get divorced, even though look how much this is costing us, money or not money, just being together. So maybe you guys can just talk about that a little bit in terms of the financial fears that most people have.
It is a fear. I think a lot of people who are on the divorce fence per se, I'm not sure whether they stay or they go, look at what it costs to live, what it costs to maintain their lifestyle, and can they actually do it on their own?
And are they willing to sacrifice that lifestyle? Again, sorry, just to cut you off, coming back to the stigma. Oh, I have to sell my house. Oh, now I'm just a renter.
Or I'm downsizing.
Or I'm downsizing.
Yeah.
Or
we sold the cottage because obviously we can't both keep it. Yeah. It's just all of these, the stigma attached to it as well. There's the practical financial implications of, can I afford to send my kids to private school now that we're getting divorced?
Or summer camp.
Or summer camp, or all of those all of those implications. And then there is the social stigma of I had to sell my house, or I had, downsize this, or not go on the vacation this year. So there's so many things that people have to deal with when they're making that decision.
Yeah, there are a lot of considerations. And as with, most relationships, when you've got two partners, they typically defer to their zone, right? They stay in their lane. And so you often have one that's maybe, if there's kids involved, doing more of the parenting, while the other is maybe more in charge of, bringing home the bacon and managing the finances. And so we see a lot of financial illiteracy as well going into the divorce process. Okay, what is your current mortgage? How much is left on your mortgage? I don't know. Okay, well, how much does it cost for the kids to go to school? I don't know. So-and-so pays for it. And so it's really, again, this education piece. And so much of that, obviously, we are two women. The majority of our listenership is women. And so a lot of it is empowering them.
Yeah.
When they're on the fence, do I stay? Do I go? It's why are you thinking about staying? Because if it's just financial illiteracy, girl, let's work on that. If it's a myriad of other reasons, different story. But if it's just this fear of the unknown, and no disrespect, it's terrifying. You're about to make incredible financial decisions that impact you, your children, your future, all while you're in this incredibly raw emotional state. We empathize immensely with our clients, but it really is about, empowering them. And that piece is really the education, is knowing where to turn, what resources, who do I talk to? There's so much.
And get that education before.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're when you're just thinking about divorce, if it's on your mind, go out and get that information. Listen to a couple episodes, find out what you're in store for, so you'll be able to make more of an informed choice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, smart. The pre-planning, because it's true, almost like any big life change, it probably doesn't just come to your mind and you take action on it that day, right? There's been things that are festering. There's been times where you're like, I can't live like this anymore. This is working, yada, yada. And unfortunately, so much of that, like you said, is mired in that raw emotions and vulnerability and pain and grieving the ending of something that we almost then don't know really where to turn or what to do, and we're not really preparing. So I think that's a great point to bring up, is that preparing aspect, which brings me into another piece, which I'm sure you've run into a lot, which is when one person is ready or wanting it and the other person isn't. Like, that must be something that you ladies deal with a lot. And what do you do in that situation?
I've had those files. One is done, and the other one wants to reconcile. And before we can even get to the point of, let's talk about parenting and finances, we have to help the other person accept it. Right? And that's almost like a therapeutic part of the mediation. We're not therapists and we don't practice therapy, but it is part of accepting that this is a decision, this is a choice that the other person has made. And I always say it takes two people to get married, only one to divorce. And so that's a big part of it. And there's a lot of emotions that you have to learn to navigate.
And the emotions are so visceral. Like, we can feel it even when talking to clients. The hurt, as you said, the grieving of this imagined future, this life that you planned, is ripped out from underneath you. So some folks are coming into it maybe too raw. And in those instances, I'll often recommend maybe some therapy, maybe some coaching even. And Amanda and I both do coaching within our practice. It's getting them that realization that, yes, this is really difficult. Let's go through those 7 stages of grief to get you to the other side, to then be able to self-advocate and to negotiate, right? Because in mediation, it's all negotiation. There's no judge saying, nope, you will pay this person this much and you will get the kids for this allotted amount of time. It's all negotiation. It's give and take, it's push and pull. And we're there as a bit of a referee to say, maybe this isn't the hill you die on. Maybe we stick with this. If this is your real priority, let's use that, right? It's a bit of horse trading almost. If you're in this emotional position where you actually can't negotiate on your own behalf, then mediation is not appropriate.
Yet. And that's the thing.
So getting them over that hump of that, that sort of
that. It's you know what it is? It's walking in slowly versus jumping in. And so when you immediately go to lawyers and you send legal letters and you get the courts involved, it can feel like the rug's being pulled out from underneath you, and you have no agency and no autonomy over your own life. And it's a terrible feeling. So in our practice and what we try to do with our process is to help people make those choices for themselves and advocate for themselves. And so it's a much less hatchet-like process.
A bit of a control over the outcome.
And we can prepare them. This is what's coming. This is what we're going to talk about next time. This is your homework. It's not as a surprise.
And leading in with that is that, have you noticed if they do enter in that type of state and then they do go through some coaching or some therapy or time passes and they're maybe in conflict or resolving conflict within the relationship, have you found people then decide, okay, well, maybe we're not going to follow through, and they kind of pull the chute at that point? What's the story there?
Yeah, there's never a moment until literally like sign on the dotted line, file that paperwork with the courts that you can't change your mind. And I encourage it because we're making a decision, let's say on day 1, that affects your allotted time with your children. On day 30, you might feel completely different. Or we encourage like an interim parenting plan. So let's test out what a 3 and 4 looks like. How are the kids managing? Are you nesting with one party leaves the house, the kids remain, and then they swap. They go stay with parents or, Airbnb or what have you. So the kids remain there, but we can test these things out. So we are always encouraging, let's put this in this decision that we've decided today, and let's circle back. Let's have some time outside of this very emotional meeting where you can go on your own, or you can talk to your own therapist or mother or friend and walk through a lot of it, and somebody who knows you that can maybe, give you some advice. Or often it's just time. Like you said, time passing. It doesn't always heal 100, but it really does take the emotion, that takes the temperature down
and gives you clarity
and lets you flip from like that reptilian emotional brain into one that's more adept for decision making.
Yeah, that's good. And I really like that too for anyone who's listening who is, okay, I'm scared of the whole process. All of a sudden, the process isn't over until, like you said, signing on the dotted line, which sometimes is months or even years down the road. So I like that kind of incubation period opportunity for people so they can possibly work things out. And especially how many relationships where one person didn't even see it coming and the other person's been thinking about it for a decade, and then, whoa, blindsided. But then that gives that person the opportunity to perhaps change in some ways to adapt to the situation and kind of catch up. Enter into more co-parenting, habiting pleasantries.
Yeah, you do have to be in the right mindset. And I just realized I didn't even answer your earlier question of like reconciliation. How often we do see that. I'm going to say not very often. I've had one file in my years of practicing where that did happen. But one thing I always tell folks at the beginning when they are in this like depths of despair is, not only are we skilled negotiators and masters of conflict resolution, we're also really good at communication. So through this joint effort of creating your separation agreement, often you have this beautiful outcome. Like, hey, look what we just did together.
You're accomplishing 2 things.
Yeah.
You're getting an agreement that you had a hand in, that you basically written yourself with help, and you're also working on creating a co-parenting relationship with your former spouse.
Yeah, I always say
it's safe space.
It's moving from a romantic partnership to a business partnership. You're in the business of raising your kids together. Listen, if there's no kids, you can divorce, you can walk away, you can never see or talk to this person again. Great, have a life. But those that are raising children, that's forever, hopefully, right? That your hope is that they outlive you. So you are forever tied to this person. So why would you not want to be able to communicate with them, to show up at graduation or one day their wedding, maybe sit next to each other and be like, look at what we did, like again with this shared joy. So maybe you are grieving the life you imagined, but there's no reason why you can't still have a beautiful life as a family living under 2 separate roofs.
Yeah, I like that. That's really empowering for sure. And that brings me to the idea of fighting and the conflict that happens, which I'm sure you probably see more of than you even know or want to. But it's like, what does stem from there? I'm guessing one of the major ones is that idea that one person wants to divorce and the other didn't, or one person did something that the other can't accept, or whether it's cheating or losing all the money and gambling or whatnot, something crazy like that. But what is usually the reason for high conflict?
That's a good question.
It's a great question because I think for every buddy it different. If I was to try and give an overarching answer, I think it's just simply the need to win. Especially if you've been wronged or it wasn't your decision. That almost like vindictiveness of, fine, you blew up our family, you're going to pay for it. I want the kids, I want the money, I want the house, I want the cottage, I want it all, you should pay. And in Canada, we have a no-fault divorce system. So really nobody pays regardless of circumstances around why you're divorcing. But emotionally, it doesn't always work that way, right? Rationally, you can know, okay, I can't just go after this person because they had an affair and now here we are. But emotionally, you want payback. You want to make them suffer like you've suffered. And that is something we can all relate to. So our job is to get them away from that. And get them out of that, like I said, that sort of that anger, that raw emotion. But it is easier said than done.
And I think it's also personalities. I think there are also people who are just, their personality is chaos. They thrive on it. They don't even realize it. It's just part of their life. And maybe it's the reason why they're getting divorced. Maybe you've got two people who are both more high conflict individuals who often it works when one person can be like, step back. But when you're both in that high stress mentality, it can make for a really challenging process.
Yeah. And there are times when we just say, you know what, we've done and we've made decisions on 90% of your separation agreement and you're stuck with one thing. You can't agree whether or not to sell the house, or maybe you can't even agree on what the value of the house should be, just as a quick example. And so those instances, if the conflict is so high and they simply will never see eye to eye, that's when we bring in a third party. So maybe you're looking at an arbitrator, which is essentially a judge for hire, and they're going to come in, they're going to look at this one piece of your agreement, and they're going to say, okay, I've decided the value of the house is X, moving along. So there are, like, you kind of piecemeal a bit with other professionals, or maybe we're suggesting counselors for the children, or different professionals.
It's not all or nothing. You can mediate some issues, and then if you need to, go to court for the others. So it's not just one size fits all.
Okay. And that leads me into the question about co-parenting and, dealing with the kids in that situation. Obviously, high conflict amongst parents has a huge ripple down effect for the children. And not only a parent being in an emotional space where they're not maybe even emotionally available to be able to see or feel or empathize with their kids, they're going through their own thing. But how does that conflict affect the kids?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. If they say it's not the divorce or the separation that screws up the kids, it's the conflict.
It's the ongoing
conflict. And seeing their parents, whether it's indirectly or directly, in these high emotional states, going through these arguments, kids pick up on it.
Just even energy, right? If you're fighting and they're going back and forth, they can feel it.
They can feel it.
They know. Children are so much smarter, honestly, than we really give them credit for. But there is a huge trickle-down effect. And one of our taglines that we always say, and so many professionals in this industry, love your kids more than you hate your ex.
And it's easy to say that, and it's hard to practice it, especially in the early days, especially when you're fresh, when maybe one person's been cheated on, or one person's been, all their money's been gambled away, their future is gone. There's so much hurt. It's hard to see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
And so part of our role is trying to shed light on that.
Yeah. And just, you have to leave your ego at the door. Like I said, it's not about win or lose, because quite frankly, the kids lose. They lose every time if the parents are in battle.
Yeah.
It's a given.
And if parents lose too, there's no winners. There's no winner in high conflict divorce.
Yeah.
When you're going to court, there's no winners. Maybe the lawyers, because they're
all those hours buying cottages.
The money from the family has been taken away. The parents are at odds and will always have this hurt. And the kids have been exposed to conflict.
Yeah. And with kids, the one thing we do especially notice is they're really interested in how the divorce is going to affect them specifically.
Yes.
So typically when parents are letting the children know that the divorce is imminent, the reaction, of course, is emotions, etc. But usually the questions are like, are we moving? Do I have to switch schools? Right. What am I going to do about my room? Am I going to have 2 rooms? Like, it's logistics. In and around kids are
soccer games,
who's going to
soccer
take
practice.
Me to
like they still get to do that. It's very egocentric for children, as it should be.
As it should be.
The adults have to take away the ego in order to make room for the child.
Exactly.
But that's exactly how it is. Yeah.
We really encourage just stick with facts, be really even keeled, literally sit on the same side of the couch when you're talking to them, if possible, so that they get this still sense of unity. Because even if you are on two different pages as divorcing couples, the kids don't need to know that.
Yeah.
The kids need to see that you're on the same page, because that creates much insecurity for them. And then that really spirals down. Right now, they're acting out at school because they feel a loss of control. So imparting and encouraging them to have some autonomy over what's happening as well. And you hear this a lot, right? Well, you get to pick out new bedding for your new room, or some new
Trying to make it
wallpaper.
positive. Yeah.
Trying to make it positive, trying to let them again have some kind of autonomy over an out of control situation. If you give them a little bit of that control back, they get a bit of sense of security in all of the chaos.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's huge. And I like what you bring up about ego and leaving your ego out of it, because it's so easy to get caught up in that and the idea of winning or deserving or wanting what you want. But at the end of the day, you want the kids to feel good, right? You want them to have a best experience as they could possibly have throughout this tumultuous time. And that kind of brings me to my thought around self-care for the parents, right? Like, for us to even be able to witness that our ego is getting in the way, that kind of takes and requires us to step back a little and just not be so in it, and just assess the situation from a place of a calm mind, from a place where we are taking care of our own selves, whether it's just going out for a walk to clear your head, whether it's making sure that you're hitting the gym or eating nutritiously or not drinking too much, because these are things that can get us into a place where we're not even emotionally able to manage ourselves, let alone our children, right?
Totally.
So are you guys coaching around that with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've experienced it firsthand. I went through a divorce with very, very young kids, and I found that, like, in the beginning, it's all you can think about, right? It's just all encompassing. And I see that with my own clients. It's the first thing they think about when they wake up in the morning, and it's the last thing they think about before they go to bed. And obviously, time that changes, but it's just so easy to become totally fixated on the divorce and the people around you too. How's it going, and what's happening, and what your lawyer's saying, and what have you agreed to? And it's like you get defined by your divorce. So it's really important to try and compartmentalize it. Maybe only deal with it during working hours, not think about it at 10 o'clock at night, so that you can actually get a good night's sleep, and try and take care of yourself, whether it be exercising or just doing something for yourself.
Yeah, healthy habits are important. And I think also giving people the permission to be where they're at. So if I was coaching you and you were like, listen, I am drinking every night because I can't deal, especially when the kids are with my ex and I don't have them, and you're trying to get used to that. I'm abusing substances. Okay, for now, this is your crutch. That's not our long-term plan. We're going to do things to move away from that. But it's okay for now. As long as you're not like drinking and driving, all of those types of things. But as long as you're being responsible with your responsibility.
It's okay to have a bad day.
Yeah, it's okay.
And I've always said that healing from a divorce is not linear. So just because you're on the up and you're feeling good about yourself and things are going well, I promise you it's going to happen where there's going to be a setback. Yeah. And there's going to be a day that you wake up and you feel like shit. Yeah. And everything seems to just not be working. And that's okay.
Yeah. So it's really this permission to just like be okay with where you're at, knowing that's not a stagnant place. It's always moving. As Amanda says, there's ebbs, there's flows, it's good, there's bad. And that's okay. And to expect that. But then yes, check in. Okay, so what are you doing for yourself? Sure, you drank a bottle of wine last night. That was last night. What are we doing today? Did you move your body? Did you get your work done? Did you make it to the grocery store so that you have good food available in the fridge? You're not ordering takeout. Like those little things. And as a coach, we often really do have to remind them of that. We have to break it down into these tangible bites, because it is all consuming.
Yeah.
And I think for women especially, we take on so much. And then you talk about becoming a single mother and dealing with, you want to keep up. You want to keep up with making sure you're running a house by yourself. You're taking the kids to school. You're preparing their lunches. You're doing two jobs in one, right? Mom and dad. Yep. And you can forget about taking care of yourself until you crash.
Yeah.
Oh, and I always say, like, when I'm with my kid, I'm going at %, right? I'm going, and then when I'm not with them, I'm like, oh, what just happened? It's like this blur, and it can take a toll on you physically.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And especially even emotionally. And that's, you brought up a good night's sleep. Well, there are so many factors involved in our sleep, right? Not to mention what time we go to bed or what time we wake up or if we drank or whatever, but it's just that emotions. You can wake up in the night with emotions or anxiety or fears or whatever, that even if you try as you might to go to bed at 9:30, it's still not going to give you a good night's sleep per se. So I think that's definitely something that you're right, Al, and especially in starting with small chunks. And then Amanda, like you said, you're going at 200%. Like that's full tilt. And we're already living and putting on so many hats all day and doing all the things for everybody all the time. Which brings me to my question for you specifically, Amanda, around I can imagine how emotional it is when you're with your kids, you're doing all the stuff, and then they leave, and then you are left alone. So physically you're like, oh good, I can lie down for a minute. But like emotionally, how has that impacted you?
It's a total roller coaster. And I'm 6.5 years out from this process. I have had the benefit and the luxury of time to reflect and adjust to my situation. But I will say, especially in the early days, and a lot of my clients, I can see that they go through the same thing. It is a huge adjustment. Like I was a full-time mom. I was with the kids all the time. And it's like, what do you mean I'm going to be spending a night without them? And I have so many people who have come, women who have come crying to me. They have young kids, they're going through divorce. I can't imagine the week without my kids. I'm going to walk by their rooms and it's going to be empty. And I try and reassure them that yes, it is hard, but you will adjust to it and you'll start to see it can be an okay thing. In fact, a necessary thing.
Right.
I feel like in order for me to be on that 200% and give my kids everything that they need when they're with me, I need some me time as well. I need some of that time to work and sleep and do all the things that I do when they're not with me. And it allows me to be a refueled mom. So I try and give that to my clients, but it's very hard to see that when you haven't really spent the time away from your kids.
It is. And I think probably an extension of that too is that like you want to do all the things with them and stuff, but even when you are with them, it's like, how can you do all the things? You're doing the job of two people, and still we often need to enlist babysitters, nannies, grandparents, aunts and uncles, etc. So how do you handle the whole asking for help thing? Like with your clients, I'm sure you see it's quite hard. Like a lot of women specifically are like, I'm an independent woman. I don't need help with anything. That's one of our trauma kind of coping strategies of life. And then we go into something that's even more traumatic and we really do need help and community and assistance. And then what, right? How do we get through that?
I think I can tell you firsthand that I could not have gotten through it without my support system of like my sisters and mother and my brother and my father who have just were like hands on, all hands on deck. How can we help? And not everybody has that. And so for me, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a second cousin or a cousin or somebody who you can count on to just, when you're overwhelmed, come over and give you a hand because you can't do it alone. You just can't. And it's okay to ask for help.
And sometimes, and I appreciate that this is a bit of a privileged approach, but sometimes maybe not only do you not have, let's say, a close family or friend group to lean on, but maybe it makes them too close and they're too invested in the outcome. It's better to look for maybe a professional or somebody that has no stake in the game and they're unbiased. And so whether that is, like I said, a coach or a therapist or support group,
right?
Like there's tons of online support groups to find that community, to see what others are doing, because I personally not great at asking for help, want to do it all, but sometimes I'm like, hey, what are you doing over there? Maybe that's a good idea for me. Maybe I can implement some of the tactics you've come up with. I'll still do it myself, but I'm getting a little bit of inspiration for whatever challenge I'm going through. So just to cast a bit of a wider net outside of maybe your immediate friends and family and keep them at a bit of an arm's length, depending on your circumstances.
For like the emotional support.
Yeah.
No, I was like referring to like the actual physical support of, I've got 2 kids and 2 birthday parties and they're in the two sides of town. I'm on my own and I'm outnumbered. And like, how do I actually do that? How do I actually do hockey and dance and this and all these things and do all the things that I want to do? And I'm one person. And sometimes I need to call grandma or I need to call auntie, and that's okay. Yeah. And I think the kids are better for it because they get these people in their lives who love them like their own. They love their aunts and uncles. They feel comfortable in their houses. It's not a bad thing to bring in support people.
Yeah, it really does
It
take a
is, yeah.
village, right? Whether you're single or together,
Yeah.
you still need that help. So yeah, letting go of this idea that we can do it all. This is what women are told. So
Supermom. I think Supermom has a team working with her.
definitely. Women were, let's say, at home raising kids, and then it was this push to no, go and work if you want. We're encouraging, go get a job, but you still have to do everything at home. Now you're just doing 2 jobs, and so we're taught, oh yeah, you can do it all. You're a superhero. It's like, no, I'm just a regular gal who actually can't do it all.
Can't do it all.
And don't want to. And so again, it's this sort of permission of letting people just be like, nope, I don't in fact want to do it all. I need to ask for help. I need a support system. And where do I find it?
Yes, that's so true. And I love one of the recent episodes you ladies did was about marriage benefiting men.
Yeah,
And
perfect segue.
And this was like an aha moment too, because I have heard many people in my life, friends, clients, whomever, who they really do feel that way. They're like, I do everything at home. I do go out and work a full-time job. So I'm out of the house or working from home or doing all the things. I also make all the dental appointments, take all the grocery planning, go get the groceries, do this, do that. And it really is something where women are just exhausted. And it almost gets to a point where it's like, what am I doing? We get to this point where we're like, I don't want to have to ask him to pick up his towel off the floor for the 48th time this week or whatever, right? How do you ladies handle that?
It's a good question. And then it does impact relationships too, right? Because women are doing both roles. They're supposed to be at home taking care of kids like they don't have a job, and be at the job like as if they don't have kids. And then, exactly, it is a very sort of tough road to navigate.
I think this is where the whole idea of storytelling and sharing and talking about things with each other really comes into play. Because if a group of women are all like, wait a minute, I do all of this stuff and everything, and you're like, no more. I don't want to do that. But it's again this kind of, oh, if they're doing it and I'm like, if we're all complaining about this thing, we've got to make a change. Now you have this almost collective mentality. One of the things, I'm not divorced, so take that with a grain of salt. But one of the things that my husband and I do is and with the kids now that they're old enough, is we do like a draft, if you will. So picture like a fantasy kind of football style of draft. And we write out all the chores, all the things that we do. And when everyone has compiled their list of things that they do around the house, let's say just for an obvious example, and you actually see your partner's list, and oh shit, you do way more than I thought, for starters. So all of a sudden now you have a bit of a different perspective. You can put yourself in their shoes and you're like, oh yeah, they do a lot of invisible labor as well. And listen, so maybe that's not the case, and maybe they're doing no invisible labor, and the wife, the mom, and again this stereotypical example, is doing everything. So she writes out her whole list, and then okay, we're dividing up. Pick what you want. So one by one, everyone in the family picks their chores that they like to do, or they don't hate the most, right? And you go down that list. Once that chore is gone, it's off the list. And you go through it and you divide it up evenly. And yeah, somebody's stuck taking out the trash that nobody wanted that job, but guess what? Someone's got to do it, and you add it to your list, and then we revisit. Maybe you're doing that quarterly or annually or whatever it looks like for your family. But you can start to appreciate how much that goes into running a family, and you have to share in it. So it really is just this matter of, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah. And I think it's a beautiful thing to do that while you're married.
It is a marriage example.
I think that some people don't. And then they get to a point of burnout, exhaustion. And that's why more women initiate divorce than men, because maybe they've had it. They just can't do it anymore. They're totally burnt out, and it's too late. So some sort of PSA would be, when you're entering into a relationship, talk about those rules ahead of time, so you don't get to that position of resentment, burnout, and exhaustion.
Yeah, and I have to say, if I can just really quickly on this as well, is it's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses. And I think a lot of, again, I'm defaulting to women, so bear with me, but we have this need to be Instagram perfect. And I know just recently we went this past Christmas, friends were having an ugly Christmas sweater party. And I was like, oh crap, I don't have a sweater. I went out and I was like, oh, this one's good. I should pick this up for him. He doesn't have and I thought, you know what? Nope. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And you know what? he figured it out. No, he didn't go buy an ugly Christmas sweater. He was just like, I don't actually care. I'm just going to wear my whatever. And I thought, as soon as I gave up this idea of having to have this cute picture of the two of us in our ugly Christmas sweaters, as soon as I did away with that idea and that pressure that I put on myself, all of a sudden, he showed him a regular hoodie, and guess what? Nobody cared.
The world still turned.
Yeah, exactly. The world went on. And yeah, I think women are really competitive with each other, and they're really concerned about how their image is and how it relates to their marriage and to their children. And we want them to be in these cute matching outfits and
always put together and always perfect. Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it too is not only being able to ask for help or to divide up some of this invisible work, but also just like, who cares?
Yeah.
We need to have this collective move away from perfectionism that really only puts extra work on the women.
Totally. I so agree. I mean, my kids are the most resistant to wearing anything that I suggest.
Yes.
That time, many moons ago, I was like, they aren't going to wear the matching pajamas. They're never going to look cute in these outfits. They're not wearing a freaking tutu, and it ain't going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does take that kind of reality check to be like, oh my God, I'm only frustrated and in a bad mood because my kids weren't wearing a tutu. And did I want to wear one when I was that age? No, get over
It's
myself.
letting go. It's being able to let go of those things.
It's so true. It's so true. Now, Al, in addition to being a mediator for divorce, you are also a marriage officiant. So you actually marry people to help them get.
She's an oxymoron, isn't she?
Yeah, it's such a crack up. So, first of all, tell us how you got into doing the whole marriage officiant thing. And then I really want to hear some insights from you as to what do you want people to go into a marriage with? If, we're coaching them on, hey, here's how to have a successful marriage before you get to this point.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know it is funny, and often when I'm telling the couples I'm marrying, like, oh, hey, in a couple years, here's my card for my other business. Call me then. But no, part of the reason why I actually love this sort of duality or dichotomy of my juxtaposition of my jobs is I have this opportunity to nip things in the bud before folks are getting married. I liken it often to the way the Catholic Church did it. You had to do these premarital classes. So I've started taking that on with my officiating clients. And once they find out I'm a divorce mediator, they're like, okay, so what should we do to avoid that? And I'm like, yeah, here's what you do. Talk about your finances, talk about kids. Like, I have people who literally, until they're like interviewing me to see whether they want me to officiate, they don't actually know that the other person may or may not want children. You'd be so surprised. So I pepper in these questions. So listen, the premarital classes, this is an add-on bonus to my work as an officiant. But outside of that, even if you don't want to upgrade your package, if you will, even if we're just having conversations, I love to throw into the mix. So you guys are you going to have kids? Okay, great. Which one is staying home? And the men always look at me like, what do you mean? And I'm like, no, this is an actual question you need to be talking about because your partner and you both work full-time jobs. So yeah, she's going to carry the baby, sure. Maybe she's going to have to stay home for a little bit to feed it, etc. Are you taking a paternity leave? And they're always so surprised. And then it forces them to now have this conversation. And I'm like, listen, I'm a communication expert. Like, let me help you with this difficult communication. And similarly, are you sharing a bank account? Are you going to buy a house? What does that look like? Are you coming in with other properties? Do you want a pre-marriage contract? Prenup has such a bad connotation. It's so negative. But if you're coming in with family property or you anticipate a pretty significant inheritance, even if it's not significant, do you want to just throw that into the mix or do you want to set yourself up for success? And it really has this ability to just get people on the same page, get them talking, having these difficult conversations, overcoming those difficult conversations because they are so in love at this honeymoon period. Like, now's the time to talk about it, not when you already start to resent each other because lo and behold, he assumed you were staying home and you don't want to because you actually really enjoy your job. So then you're in this heated battle where maybe you're hormonal still postpartum and you have to make a guess, major life decisions. Set yourself up for success before it becomes an issue. Have those tough conversations from the get-go. And then hopefully I don't have to see you in my other office.
I love the idea of really focusing in on that communication piece because I think you're right. That's such a big area of breakdown because it's so easy to assume, right? It's so easy to, oh yeah, he'll do this or she'll do this or she'll always like this. If she likes it right now, she's always gonna love it, right?
Yeah.
Or this or that. And those assumptions are really what can get us into some dark waters sometimes. So I really
And
think
people's goals and needs and interests change.
It does change.
If you're getting married at 25, when you're 40, you might want different things, and that's okay, and that's healthy.
Yeah.
But you should have those stats.
Yeah.
So
Learn proper communication so that when you do change your mind, it's all good.
And I know you guys are good at destigmatizing things and just in general, but also that idea of a prenup, right? Okay, let's get down to the fact that this is just something that is like a relationship/divorce agreement in advance, but it's just being smart when one of two relationships ends in a divorce, right? And same thing, therapy forever and ever, and maybe still does, but not in my world, has a stigma, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, going to couples therapy doesn't mean you're about to break up. It doesn't have to mean one of you has mental health issues. It just literally mean we're trying to optimize, right? We're not needing to go from rock bottom to try and get back to average status. We're going from here and we're just trying to up level, right? And that's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you want to have a stronger relationship? And you wouldn't enter a business partnership without a contract.
This is the greatest investment you'll ever make, really. It's in your family and in your life and choosing a partner. So why wouldn't you want to, protect yourself going into this investment?
Exactly. And guess what? If you already have your, let's say your whatever investments, whatever you've got, if you've got that protected, that's no longer something you're going to fight about. It's off the table entirely. You're never going to have to open up that conversation again because it's been dealt with. So all of a sudden you don't have things to fight about because you
pressure is off.
Written out.
The financial pressure is reduced.
Expectations there. Where you stand. It's almost about healthy boundaries, which a lot of people think, oh, I put up a boundary. That's a wall to this relationship. No. Those are your parameters with which your relationship will operate. Again, stigma around that, right? But ditch it. Like there's just no need for it. Open and honest dialogue that leads you to have a more successful partnership is a win. I don't care how you want to classify it. That to me is a win. Set yourself up for success. As Amanda said, this is your biggest investment. You're spending the most money typically on your house. And then you've got your kids. The most important things, your financial future and the future of your family. Why would you not want to have all of that detailed? Yeah. Anyway, so we're just not here for stigma. We're here just seeing this whole industry. People have to live their lives in the way that works for them. And quite frankly, who are you to judge how somebody else's relationship is operating?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is comparing your relationship or your divorce to other people.
Yeah.
Oh, she got that, he got that, this one was awful, this one went really well. You can't because every relationship is so different and every divorce is so different.
Yeah, so true, so true. One of the things I want to end off on, because I could talk to you ladies forever and a day, and this is so fun, and you have so many great insights, and your clients are immensely lucky to be working with you.
Thank you.
I love this. But that being said, I want to, just as an overarching theme, but specifically to you, Amanda, because you've gone through a divorce. I love your idea that you guys talk about on your podcast of turning divorce into something meaningful. Like we go into it like, oh, this is the end of life as we knew it. And at the end of the day, it actually is this potentially very empowering, very great opportunity for self-growth, for relationship growth, for your kids' growth, all of the things. So how, having gone through it, Amanda, would you look back now that you are 6.5 years later, how do you look back and say, this is something that has really helped me in my life or helped my kids or me as a person?
Yeah, for me, like you said, like for some people, they think it's the end. For me, it was really the beginning. And of course, I didn't see it back then, but I obviously see it now on reflection. No, for me, it led to a total change in my career path. I was teaching as an educator, and then I went through this process really blindsided, really not knowing what to expect, really feeling like the rug was being pulled out underneath me. And I fell in love with the process, with helping people go through it in a better way. And so it really led for me into a whole career change, a whole new career path, but also to follow my passions and my dreams that I didn't even know I had. I didn't even know that I would want to be a podcaster and a businesswoman and have my own practice and all these things that I never would have achieved if it were not for the divorce. My kids, yes, they've seen that their mom and dad are not living in the same house anymore. And they obviously, there's always challenges with that, but they also see mom who's gone out there, made something of herself, stands on her own 2 feet, and is a force. And that to me is like the most beautiful thing that I can give my kids. So
That's so
Mic drop.
cool.
She is a force.
Oh,
really
I
bad.
love-
On the good days, listen, they're always good on the good days. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And how do you empower your clients to see things that way when they are going through that kind of initial process?
And that's where I get personal with them. And I think that my perspective and my experience allows me to do that. I literally share my personal story to a degree. Obviously, I don't share too intimate details, but I do show them sort of the progression of how I've come from feeling broken to really rebuilding and rising out of the ashes. Often it's hard for people to see it, but when you've actually gone through it yourself, you can speak to it and say, no, I promise you. I always say to them, you are going to be shocked at the person you are 1 year from now. You're going to be shocked. I promise you. And they always are. They always are. So.
Oh, and they have you there to hold their hand. And I think that's beautiful that you went through the experience and realized there's parts of this system that aren't working. There's parts of this system that are broken. There's parts of this system that didn't support me and I didn't know where to go or what to do. And you have created a resource for people and so many opportunities for people to have the help and get the support that they need. So well done, you.
Well, and I found the best person ever to do it with.
Sure,
Just working with Alex is beyond the best dream come true.
We do have a lot of fun.
We do.
And it's hard work, and we have to learn to compartmentalize and not take on our clients' grief and all of that, which as empaths, we just do.
Of course.
But I think at the end of the day, we believe so strongly in the process, in mediation as an alternative to listen. We went through it with our parents, right, Jen? And we saw what divorce looked like in the 90s. And thankfully, it was not pretty. And it was certainly was the default of like weekend dad, whatever shit that it used to be. And now we are in this position where that has changed so much. Yeah. And so one of the things I love the most is, looking at if you were like a stay-at-home parent, great. What are you going to do now with your time? And a lot of people we see that find second careers or find new sort of energy, and they're really empowered to go and do that thing that they never had time for. They can never justify the time for. Even if it's just a hobby. Even if it's like, I want to take up pottery. Guess what? You've got every Wednesday night free now. Hit that pottery class.
They find themselves again. Yes. Because so many people lose themselves in becoming a parent.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you don't even realize that it happens.
Totally.
Your whole life gets totally focused on those kids. And then eventually they're going to leave the nest and you're going to have to look back at yourself and look in the mirror and think, well, what am I now? So divorce is like a sped up version of that, right? You get to experience that at a younger age, which can be a blessing too, right? You're not 65 or 6 years old and experiencing that. Maybe you're 35.
Yeah. And we also see a lot of dads that, again, because this weekend dad has gone away, they're really rising to the challenge of being single parents themselves. And guess what? They can make lunches and they can do laundry and they can get to Bobby's birthday party on time with a gift wrapped and everything.
They organize the play dates. They can organize the sleepovers. They can do all those things that used to be mom's job.
Yeah, and they're really empowered and finding immense joy in that as well. It really, maybe we have a bit of a rose-colored glasses on as we do this, but I think that then trickles down to our couples, to their lives, being like, you know what, this isn't the end of the world. Yes, there's a grieving period. Yes, there's a time of immense sadness and hurt and loss. But on the flip side of that is so much more. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes, that is. And it's just an opportunity. I like how you view it as that instead of an ending. It's an opportunity. Yeah. And like you said, empty nesting is usually when you're later in life and your kids are off to college or something and you're just like, there's so much emotions that goes with that. But at the same time, you do have what seems to be so much time to find something new or find yourself. And I think it is easy to, when you are paired up in a couple situation, just do everything because you're used to that and you don't even give that other person a chance. And I definitely have had friends who have told me, after divorcing, saying, oh my gosh, I never knew he could be this kind of dad, or now he's actually stepping up. And did we give him a chance before? maybe not. And it isn't too bad sometimes, but at the same time, this was the way it was meant to be, because now we've all experienced this opportunity and found meaning out of something that is unfortunate per se.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Anything else you ladies want to touch on today? Anything else you want to leave the Fit Mamas with? This has been super enlightening. We've hit lots of topics here, and I feel like it's been very empowering, and I just love what we've talked about. Anything else is coming to mind?
I mean, obviously want to tell people that if they do want to hear more, they are going through a divorce, of course they can reach out to us. Our pod is this incredible resource. We have had on divorce financial specialists, we've had on counselors, we've had on lawyers. So and we've had other women that have
shared their
story to share the story. And we're now building a community online because we are branching out of just Toronto, where we are home based, to just encourage people to share. Like, storytelling is the way we connect. It's the way we bond and build communities. It is not easy. I appreciate that we're expecting people to discuss raw hurt and sometimes a lot of private information.
It could be shameful. People feel ashamed. If their wife cheated on them, or they did something else that led to the breakdown of the marriage. And they don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing, but maybe it's just, okay, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen. Yeah. I'm going to hear. I'm like, oh, wait a second.
I'm not alone.
Not alone. And just that in itself can be amazing.
Yeah. There's so much validation in feeling like you have been seen. Yeah. And people going through a divorce are the only ones who get it, to be honest. Like, sometimes I have couples that are like, oh, but you're still married. How could you possibly understand? And that's fair. In many ways, I don't, which is why I may be able to see from a balcony perspective and have a bit of different sight line. I'm cognizant of that, but in sharing, that's how we break down the walls. That's how we ditch the stigma. It is forcing people or encouraging people to be vulnerable.
And also to try and find some humor.
Yeah, we do a little levity.
I mean, when you and I are together, we just laugh all day. Yeah. And so sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes it's not. But we really, I found this myself. Like, I find, like, sometimes just making fun of my own situation. Like, oh, you should have seen me this morning. I was a shit. Like, just making myself real and sharing that human aspect and laughing about things is just so therapeutic.
It really
is.
It's so true. It's so true.
Try and balance
I'll link up all your information, your websites, each of your social media, the Dirty Laundry social media. But definitely I'll link up the link to the podcast, and everyone can tune in there and get more info and connect with you ladies online.
And we're on YouTube as well.
Yeah,
so check out on YouTube.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, my daughter is so proud.
And you should be. I love this. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise today. Thank you for all your wisdom and for being here today, Alex and Amanda. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Fit Mama, for listening. And we will see you on the next episode. Have a great day. See ya.
Yay. Did we get a screenshot or do we get a?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to get like a picture? What do you want to do?